La gitanilla. La gitanilla. The Little Gypsy Girl is the first novella contained in Miguel de Cervantes' collection of short stories. The Novelas ejemplares. The Exemplary Novels. La gitanilla is the story of a 15-year-old gypsy girl named Preciosa, who is said to be talented, extremely beautiful, and wise beyond her years. Accompanied by her adoptive grandmother and other members of her gypsy family group, Preciosa travels to Madrid, where she meets a charming nobleman, named Juan de Carcome. Juan proposes to Preciosa, only to be challenged to spend 2 years as a member of Preciosa's gypsy family group, under the alias of Andres Caballero. During these adventurous 2 years, much is learned both by the main characters and about them, resulting in an unexpected happy ending. The main themes of the story include the making and breaking of stereotypes, female power and freedom, the importance of word, and the so-called truth behind the mystery of gypsy life. Plot summary. Preciosa is a 15-year-old gypsy girl who was raised by an old gypsy woman who calls herself Preciosa's grandmother. Preciosa grew up with her gypsy family group in Sevilla, Spain. The gypsies travel to Madrid where Preciosa makes her debut in a festival for the patron saint of the city, Saint Anna, where Preciosa is able to sing and dance for the public. She immediately attracts a great following as she is recognized as a wonderful performer, a great beauty, and a kind soul. On her second visit to Madrid, a lieutenant of the city stops to listen to Preciosa perform in the Cala de Toledo. And although he does not stay to listen to the entire performance, he sends a page to ask the gypsies to come to his house that night and perform for his wife, Doña Clara. Preciosa's grandmother agrees to perform for the lieutenant and his wife. After the performance, another page approaches Preciosa with a petition to perform his poems, giving her a folder paper containing one of his romances for her to perform. Preciosa agrees and makes a deal to pay for his poems by the dozen, to the satisfaction of the page. While the gypsies are on the way to the lieutenant's house, they stop when beckoned from a window by a gentleman. They are invited to perform for a group of gentlemen, much to the dismay of Christina, a fellow gypsy maiden wary of spending much time with a large group of men. Preciosa convinces Christina that there is nothing to fear, and the group of gypsies decide to perform for the group of gentlemen. One of the gentlemen sees the paper in Preciosa's hand and grabs it, sees that it has a coin for Preciosa within, and begins to read the poem, as prompted by Preciosa to do so. Preciosa critiques the poem, and when questioned as to how she knows so much, she insists that she needs no teacher, as the life of a gypsy is teacher enough to ensure that every gypsy is wise to the ways of the world at a young age. The gypsy caravan then moved on to the lieutenant's home to perform for Doña Clara. Doña Clara was so excited to see Preciosa perform that she invited other ladies to come over and watch the performance with her. The ladies all fawn over Preciosa and ask to hear their fortunes told, but none among them could find any money to give. Only one among them is able to produce a silver thimble as payment for Doña Clara's and her own fortunes to be told. Preciosa has only enough time to recite Doña Clara's fortune by the time the lieutenant arrives home, but promises to return the next Friday. The next morning, on their way back to Madrid, the gypsies meet a handsome young gentleman who asks to speak Preciosa and her grandmother in private. The young gentleman reveals himself to be a knight and explains that he has become enamored by Preciosa's beauty and talent, wishes to serve her as she wishes, and make her a lady of the court. The young knight presents the two of them with a large sum of money, as a means of proving what he can provide as a future husband to Preciosa. Preciosa insists on answering the gentleman for herself, asserting that her virtue cannot be swayed by money, promises, or schemes. She agrees to become his wife if only he agrees to her conditions. He must prove that he is who he claims to be. He must leave the comfort of his father's home, and he must live for 2 years as a gypsy, giving him time to awaken from the illusions of first love and learn about the woman he is so eager to marry. The young man agrees to these conditions as he has already promised to give Preciosa what she wishes. However, he makes a condition of his own: that Preciosa does not return to Madrid in order to avoid any harm that could come of it. Preciosa refuses to follow this condition, affirming her independence and asking that the young man trust her. They agreed that they should return to the same place in 8 days, in which time Preciosa could verify his identity and the gentleman could arrange his affairs. The grandmother accepts the young man's offering with a great many arguments to Preciosa for why they should keep the money. The gentleman then pays the other gypsies for their time, after which the gypsies decide that the young man's gypsy name will be Andres Caballero. And all continue on their travels to Madrid. Once in Madrid, Preciosa is again approached by the page who wrote the romance for her, ready to offer another poem. The two discuss the position of poet and the art of poetry, and rest on the conclusion that the page is not a poet but rather a lover of poetry, and that he is neither rich nor poor, but rather comfortable enough financially to be able to spare a coin or two. Preciosa refuses to keep the poem until the page agrees to take back his money, which he does. The two part ways and Preciosa continues on her journey through the city to find the house of Andres and his father. Down the street, Preciosa finds the house and is invited up by the father of Andres. It is revealed that Don Juan, or Don Juanico, as he is called by his father, is Andres's true name. The gypsies perform for the men, including Andres, until a paper falls. The poem is read aloud, filling Andres with jealousy, for which Preciosa slightly taunts him for being weakened by a piece of paper. The awaited day arrives, and Andres meets the gypsies at the agreed-upon place. He gypsies take him to their camp outside of the city where he discovers he first lessons on gypsy life and Preciosa is given another chance to assert her independence. The group quickly departs from Madrid so as to avoid the recognition of Andres as Don Juan de Carcome. After several days with the gypsies, and several lessons on thievery, Andres still refuses to steal and instead actually pays for each item he claims he has stolen. Despite this, Andres is able to add to the fortune of the gypsy group and gain as much fame for his abilities as Preciosa is for her beauty and talent. Over time Andres and Preciosa are able to get to know each other better. One night, the page poet happens upon the gypsy camp while traveling and he becomes injured. The gypsies take him in, tend to his injury, and offer him sanctuary. Preciosa recognizes him and Andres becomes jealous, as he is convinced that the page is in love with Preciosa. Andres talks to the page and finds the truth, that this man is not in love with Preciosa but that he is in much need of help. The gypsies agree to help Don Sancho, as that is his name until renamed Clemente by the gypsies. Andres remains suspicious of Clemente until the two become close friends. After some time, the gypsies travel to Murcia and stop on their way at an inn. The innkeeper's daughter, Carducha, falls in love with Andres and proposes to him. Andres politely declines her proposal, angering Carducha enough that as the gypsies are about to leave, she plants some of her belongings in a pack belonging to Andres and calls the authorities. The mayor's son is among them and, finding the belongings in Andres's pack, he insults Andres and hits him. Andres, remembering that he is actually Don Juan, defends himself by killing the mayor's son. Some of the gypsies are arrested and taken to Murcia, among them Andres, Preciosa, and her grandmother. Andres is held in the dungeons while Preciosa and her grandmother are summoned by the magistrate's wife. The noble status of both Preciosa and Andres is revealed, leading to their freedom and happy marriage. End of the summary. Thank you. Thank you.